Look, let's get real for a second. Navigating overseas manufacturing, it's honestly not for the faint of heart. It is a straight-up street fight of logistics, communication, and most importantly, protecting your capital. So today, in this explainer, we're stripping away all those shiny online brochures and getting down to the absolute, unvarnished truth of manufacturing in Vietnam. We're going to talk about factory audits, how to actually secure your supply chain, and why having an insider on the ground is literally the difference between a massive product launch and a total financial disaster.
I want you to really think about this for a second. Would you ever wire 10 grand to a complete stranger based solely on some slick online profile? Well, of course you wouldn't. But crazy enough, every single day, buyers do exactly that. They hop on Alibaba or Made in Vietnam, they see a couple of nice high-res pictures of a factory, and they just blindly wire their capital across the globe without doing any on-the-ground verification. Guys, this is a massive financial risk. An online profile, that's just marketing. To secure your supply chain, you need reality.
And that reality check brings us to Section 1. Why a factory audit is needed. Your absolute first line of defense.
Okay, let's clear up a major confusion right out of the gate, because buyers mix this up all the time. A factory audit and a product inspection are two completely different things, and they happen at completely different times. A factory audit evaluates the supplier itself. We're talking their legal registration, the physical building, the equipment, and this happens before you place an order. A product inspection, on the other hand, evaluates your physical goods during or after production. Basically, an inspection makes sure your goods are right, an audit makes sure the factory is actually real to begin with.
So when does an audit go from being a nice-to-have to absolutely mandatory? Simple. Anytime your order value crosses that $10,000 mark, or if it involves expensive custom molds, or if you're relying on a brand new supplier you just found online, an audit is non-negotiable. Period. Skipping it is practically the most expensive mistake you can make. A standard audit is only going to cost you a few $100. Skipping it to save that tiny fee, that could cost you everything.
So now that we know why we need them, let's jump into Section 2, 4 types of audits. Let's get to know your options to mitigate that risk.
You've got 4 main options here, but hey, don't get overwhelmed. Most of you really only need the very first one. That's the Supplier Qualification Audit, or SQA, and it runs about $300 to $400. It physically verifies that the factory is real, fully licensed, and capable of doing the job. Now, the extensive factory audit goes a bit deeper into their technical chops. The other two, social compliance and environmental audits, those get pretty pricey, around $700 to $1,000. But you honestly only need those if you're supplying massive retail giants like Target or Walmart who demand strict compliance. For the rest of us, that $300 SQA is your perfect shield.
All right, so what exactly are we looking for when we go in? Let's move to Section 3, the main customer checklist. Here is exactly what you need to verify.
First up on the clipboard, legal and facility verification. You absolutely must match the business registration directly to the company name you've been emailing. Scammers are notoriously lazy, right? They often use fake names or just borrow real ones. You've got to verify their export license, and above all else, you need physical, eyes-on confirmation that the address they gave you is an actual, working production floor, not just an empty room or a P.O. box.
And that brings us to a huge red flag. Beware of the most common trap buyers fall into: the trading company disguise. You arrive at the address they gave you, and instead of the sprawling manufacturing plant they showed off online, it's literally just 3 desks in a commercial office building. They aren't a factory at all. They're middlemen. They take your money, skim a cut off the top, and secretly outsource the actual work to someone else. It's a massive red flag.
Next on our checklist, we have to verify they can actually handle the work. We go in and physically count the production lines. We check their typical lead times to make sure they actually align with your schedule. And crucially, we look for quality systems. Is there a dedicated quality control person actively walking the floor? Do they have written procedures? Listen, if a factory has never heard of AQL, acceptable quality level, they are simply not ready for international manufacturing. Run.
Oh, and here's another major warning sign. If a factory tells you they have unlimited capacity to take on your massive order right this very second, don't walk, run away. Realistically, healthy functioning Vietnamese factories operate at about 70 to 90% capacity. If they're claiming they can handle an unlimited amount of work tomorrow, that just means they're planning to take your order and secretly subcontract it out to unvetted, lower-tier, dirty workshops where you have absolutely zero quality control.
Finally, we check their safety and track record. We look at their ISO 9001 certifications to make sure they're actually current, not expired from 5 years ago. We check basic safety. Are the fire exits unblocked?
Honestly, locked fire doors are an immediate deal breaker, plain and simple. And lastly, we demand verifiable export references. If they claim they ship to the US or Europe but can't produce a single shipping record to prove it, they're lying to you.
Now, conducting this audit sounds pretty straightforward on paper, right? But doing it locally requires a completely different playbook. Let's look at Section 4, Traps and Specifics of Vietnam.
Let's start with a really quick, direct comparison. If you are moving your production over from China, you need to know this. Vietnam audits are going to run you about 20 to 40% higher in cost. Why? Well, China has these massive, incredibly dense manufacturing hubs with intense competition among auditing companies, which drives the prices way down. Vietnam's industry is newer. It's growing fast, sure, but the audit market is just less saturated. So you're paying a slight premium, but the international standards you're measuring against remain exactly the same.
And we have to talk about the ground realities of Vietnam. Unlike those mega clusters in China, Vietnamese industrial parks are very dispersed. The travel distances add up really quickly. More importantly, there are intense language barriers. Outside of Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi, factory owners rarely speak English. And trust me, whipping out Google Translate is not going to save you in the middle of a $10,000 manufacturing dispute. Throw in the high prevalence of those hidden trading companies we just talked about, and doing this yourself suddenly becomes a total logistical nightmare.
To quote the source material directly here, Vietnamese business culture places significant weight on relationships and trust. A factory that openly welcomes an audit is showing you their true character. But you can't build that relationship over an email translated by an app. You need a physical presence in the room.
And this is exactly why the smartest importers out there never go it alone. Let's move into Section 5, your sourcing agent. This is the local insider, your guy in Vietnam. When it's time to actually get the audit done, you really only have 3 choices. Option 1, you hire a random third-party auditor. They're fine, but they're super impersonal. They basically just hand you a PDF report and leave. Option 2, fly there yourself, which is great if you have the time, but it's incredibly expensive, and guess what? You still don't speak the language. Or Option 3, use a dedicated sourcing agent. This is your definitive answer. This is your proxy, your advocate, your eyes and your ears right there on the ground.
This is what we call the sourcing agent advantage. A true sourcing partner, your guy on the ground, operates on a flat fee. That means no hidden markups and absolutely no financial incentive to push you toward a sketchy factory just to grab a quick commission. They are native speakers who completely cut through the cultural barriers. They visit the factory in person, they sit down and drink the tea with the owner, they build that crucial local trust, and then they report back to you with an unvarnished, honest assessment of what's really happening on that production floor. They are your trusted insider.
So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Your hard-earned capital is on the line. The risks we talked about are very real. The geography is vast, and those online profiles are deliberately deceptive. When things get complicated on the factory floor, and they will, who is your guy in Vietnam? Because in this game, an audit isn't just a checklist. It's about having a trusted insider to actually secure your supply chain. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Start asking those tough questions, demand those audits, and go find your proxy on the ground. See you next time.